Let's do it right now. Call the Henry County School Board to order. At this time, we will have the roll call. Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here. At this time, I'll accept the motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second? All right. Ms. Flanagan made the motion. Ms. Woodbine second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed? So be it. We welcome all of you this evening as we are gathered here on the, I hate to use the word precipice, but I guess I will. Coming into school and doing all that needs to be done and everything of that sort. So we're getting ready. And it's good to see all of you. I know that you are tired because you have worked very, very hard the last couple of weeks. And I know that some of you had meetings yesterday and probably some had meetings today, but we're glad you did. We really are. At this time, we will have a moment of silence. And then Mr. Zaire is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's remember those of staff members and, you know, maybe families that are affected not only by COVID, but because of death and so forth. Would you please stand? God, we just pray that you would strengthen us and guide us. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we do have a speaker that has signed up. I would like to remind those that are speaking. This is the time of public comment. That means we are here to listen to you, not to engage in a question and answer period or a debate. Upon arrival at the podium, please state your name, your subject matter, and the district in which you live. By coming to the podium, you have agreed that you will exhibit respect for the board and its members, as well as the staff and students of Henry County Public Schools. You will receive the same consideration from the board. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. And we are pleased to have Mrs. Alice Willingham of the Henry County Education Association, who will address us at this time.
Good evening. I'm Alice Willingham. I am the Virginia Education Association representative for Henry County. I live in Danville City, and this is about returning to school. So, because of Back to School Night, Heather Bird asked me to address you all on behalf of the Henry County Education Association. First and foremost, thank you so much for delaying in-person instruction. This board and your superintendent realized what other districts did not, it is still unsafe. I would also like to thank your central office staff for responding to employee concerns. There are just a few unanswered questions. One was, will students be required to wear masks during in-person instruction? There are many members that would greatly appreciate this consideration. Their masks protect students, and in turn, student masks protect them. It is too important to be a suggestion. Our members feel it must be required. Number 2, can staff and students have their temperatures checked before interacting with others? In other school districts, bus drivers or bus aides will check temperatures as students board. Staff members will have their temperatures checked upon arriving to school, and any students dropped off will have their checks done while waiting for the car rider line. Number 3, my members are wondering why during stressful times we are creating a bit more stress. Many wonder why teachers are scared to go back to school. Another reason, aside from the 2 already mentioned, the masks and the temperature tests, is doctor orders for remote work. These are being denied. We are concerned because although the State Department of Education advised teleworking options for staff at a higher risk of severe illness, your school system is disregarding physicians for illnesses like severe asthma. The reason given to these individuals is that according to the CDC, there might be an increased risk for severe illness from COVID-19. And that might be is why the medical order is not honored. And now I would like to add that teachers, some of which just discovered that they will be giving face-to-face instruction while their peers are continuing with the virtual learning. They wanted me to impress upon you this. COVID is a mistake. You only get to make one. There are no do-overs. And although teaching is a calling, no educator should be forced to literally love a job to death. Their doctors realize what your staff does not, the risk is too great. So in summary, a mask mandate, immediate temperature checks, and some compassion. And as always, Henry County Education Association and the Virginia Education Association are here to help in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we move on to the information agenda. The first item on the information agenda is ESSR funds state set aside CARES Act.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. As you know, last month, Henry County Public Schools received the CARES grant. Henry County Public Schools is also eligible to apply for additional state funding from the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund and the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund. The overarching purpose of the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund and the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund is to provide emergency relief funds to address the impact that COVID-19 has had and continues to have on elementary and secondary schools. Using this process, the Virginia Department of Education also has received the grants. And so now sub-grantees such as Henry County Public Schools may apply for those funds as well. We would like to apply for programs and activities such as special education services and supports, cleaning, sanitizing supplies for schools and school buses, facilities upgrades, protective equipment, GEER funding support for our school nutrition operations, and Virginia initiative to support internet outside of school network. Please note that all of these grants are not guaranteed and are based on specific criteria to qualify. So in other words, the only grant portion of this that we are guaranteed is the special education portion. Okay? So if approved, it could be up to $346,321.51. Of course, this would be 100% grant funded. We would utilize, again, all of the categories that I mentioned. And at this time, I'm just sharing this as a matter of information. There's no action requested at this time, but just want to know if you all have any questions.
You asked mine, I was curious as to how much we expect.
Right. None of it's guaranteed. We will write proposals to try and receive additional funds.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, the next item is return to school, I think. This is straight.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I know this is your favorite part of the meeting, but It was an exciting week because our new teachers reported back to work on Tuesday, and we were excited about 40 teachers in the county. And our veteran staff members returned to work Wednesday. It was great to visit some of the schools and see our staff getting used to the new normal and preparing for the students to return. Back to school nights have been a little different this year. We let the principals know they were allowed to have several virtual and in-person meetings and school events because they wanted to stagger when the parents were coming in and schedule them specific time of the day, and also allow them the virtual option. So those have been going on over the last 2 weeks. And they're actually going on tonight as well. So I'm excited that we are transitioning our school meal program. You all know during the summer we have to change the structure of the meal program. However, since Monday is the first official day for students, we are allowed to change our program. And at this time, students can have 3 choices. Food is ready to be delivered on the beginning of this week. So we decided that food will be delivered again to our families, and students have the option to choices. If you have any questions or details about Mr. Scott can answer those, but I'm sorry, David Scott can answer those. But cleaning supplies have been delivered, and custodians have been given directions for the additional cleaning measures. Directional stickers have arrived, and will all be placed in the buildings by tomorrow. Masks and hand sanitizers have been delivered, and we really appreciate all the donations that we received from local businesses and community members. You'll see links to that in our highlights in the meeting. But Richard Hall, Manly Boys from Backstop Office Supply, Eastman, Cavalier Pharmacy, Worthy Plus. We've just been inundated with community support with providing PPE. Our Henry County staff masks have arrived, as you see. If you have any questions on any of those items, keep Scott here. And Sherry Vessel can answer questions. Bus drivers were given their own little bags this week of supplies, masks for students, hand sanitizer, a variety of items in their bags at this point. But Ms. Vessel gave those bags out this week, and each school in Ms. Vessel sent items to gloves, masks, those type items. And she's here if you have any questions in that area. And obviously, our Henry County staff masks arrived, so that all of our faculty and staff in the building will be easily identified by the students, if they're a new teacher or a new staff member, because they will all have either the mask or the gator, the Henry County logo, and that will help with the identification of staff members. iPads for 1st, 5th, and 9th graders have been shipped and should arrive at any time. And Ms. Atkins has set up an emergency team for when they arrive, because it's fully done within 1 day. So the day they arrive, and I think you confirmed they could arrive tomorrow.
Yes, they could arrive tomorrow and possibly Monday for the second ship. 9 for shipping separate from 1st and 5th.
Which means they would have them in their hands either by Monday or by Tuesday. So we're really excited about that, and they are ready to go. They need that 1 day with them to get them ready to go, and then go on into the students and they're ready. But teachers in those grades were told to provide consumables to prepare novel studies and writing assignments to help strengthen writing, social, emotional learning, culture, and help build student and teacher relationships. We all know that the most important predictor of student success is the relationships they have with students. That's research-based. And so we know we always start the school year off with our teachers sharing information about themselves and the students sharing information about their likes and interests, because that always has helped teachers as they feel the lessons for our students. So very important. We will be using Canvas as our learning platform, and we know this is new, and it will be better than our distance learning experience in the spring. However, we know with anything that's new, there is always a learning curve. We have tried to plan for all aspects and all possible scenarios of what could go wrong. And we have worked with ITRTs and the principals. We've actually spent a lot of time preparing with the instructions from Mrs. Milner and Mrs. Durham on those scenarios and what could go wrong. And we've let people know that we are here to respond to problems and to fix those immediately. The big message is to continue to be flexible. And we're asking for everyone's patience and to please let us know if there's any problems. However, I know there are some teachers who have concerns But again, this is something new, and we're on this new journey together, and we know it won't be perfect. And we know we'd rather have students back face to face, but right now, this is the way we can provide instruction, provide meals, and support our students now, because the students are craving instruction at this point. So I was going to show you how simple it was, simple page, because I myself, as an older teacher, did not have technology when I was in the classroom, and I did go to Canvas, and I was working with that. Mr. Johnson, I was going to show this page, and then in talking to him, he said that he would not mind coming here today and showing you how this over Canvas page or what's on his page, just talking a little bit about his experience. So, Mr. Johnson, I will turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. First and foremost, I would like to give kudos to Zach and our team of our ITRTs. I know at Bassett High School, Howard has been working around the clock to give us all the support we could possibly need. And if he doesn't have an answer right away, he does everything in his power to get that answer. I know my wife has said the same about Carla. But Canvas, I used Canvas this summer. I started my master's going into administration, and it was my first time ever doing online classes. And through Avery, Canvas is the platform. Super easy as a student to go through Canvas. And if you take a look, I have my site. This is what the students will see when they first come up. I'm actually going to put it on student view so you can kind of see what the students can see right now. From a student's perspective, when they open up their class, if they're in my physical training 1 class, right away I have a back to school night video. These are for the parents who we couldn't meet with face to face. And here's a little information about myself, about who I am. I like to start with that up front. And then just about how to get to where we are now in Canvas. So the video just kind of is a little step by step. Once you get in Canvas, here's the important stuff. And I tell them to click on my homepage, because this is what my homepage will look like. Now, a lot of teachers have had concerns because you see this going around, homepages looking real pretty, and some teachers have tried to play a matching game where, mine has to look that pretty, but it doesn't. I spoke with 3 individuals today at Bassett High School who've been teaching for quite a while. I call them they're seasoned, and I go to them for advice, veterans. And I asked them, what are your feelings on Canvas? What are your feelings on us starting something new? And each one of them said at first it was a little overwhelming seeing other teachers' pages. Then my next question was, can you put assignments in Canvas? Yes. Can you get your first week ready? Yes. Was it easy? All I had to do was either YouTube or ask Mr. C. Price or ITRT. It was fairly easy. So going through the process and talking to teachers who at first were kind of nervous because it is something new. But in education, as you all know, there's something new every year. There's something new you have to learn. There's always change. But I got the feeling that, at least at Bassett and talking to my wife from Harvard, that Canvas has kind of been a breath of fresh air. We get to go into virtual learning. It's fairly simple for the students. On our end, it can be as simple as you want it to be, or it can be as dynamic or as thought out as you want it to be. It's clearly a preference for you as a teacher. So here, students are directed to come to my homepage. They can click on, I have buttons, different buttons. I have daily buttons. They can do that. Or a teacher can set this page here, modules, where we set up a module for our units. I have a resource tab. And every teacher I work with, I recommend them have this resource tab for how-to videos, uploading YouTube links. How do I do this? I'm asking my physical training students to upload videos of workouts and different things. Well, Mr. Johnson, how do I do that? How do I do that, Coach? I can show you via a Zoom meeting, or you can go to my resources tab. I have a video. I've uploaded a listed video to YouTube. I have a video how to do that. So, and a lot of teachers have that. And then, my first unit, right now, students can't see this right here because the first day of school is Monday. So they wouldn't get ahead and start getting antsy and nervous, and parents, I gave them access to my syllabus here. They can click on it and it comes right up.
And I'll say that all teachers in the past last year, there's a law that require every teacher to have a syllabus.
Yeah.
And every elementary teacher, they're supposed to have this, so they should already have this in their documents. And Coach Johnson, isn't it true that when you open your Canvas page, all you had to do is click like attaching, like you're attaching something to an email and upload it?
Yes. And
So they should already have their syllabus that they normally make copies of and pass out.
so creating my pages, and it was as simple as taking my link, copy and pasting the link to this document, or I made this document a picture and I dropped in the document strictly to the page. And you can see it didn't direct the students to another page. It's all right here for the students to have access to. And it was fairly easy. You know, you get in there, you play around with it, you take the time with it, and it was fairly easy to do this. So my students have access to that right now, and just little virtual expectations. I have a Canvas 101 video that one of my coworkers made in Big Tech. 9th grade team in Big Tech, we all made instructional videos of different questions we thought that might come up. And we have them in a folder for parents, for the students. And this is a Canvas 101 video where just the minor things that you know. And that's the gist of Canvas. And it's been, I was happy when they said they were going to Canvas because I worked with it as a student. And I've been out of school for 10, 11 years and never done online, and it was fairly simple. Now, being on the teacher side, I had to teach myself some things and talk to the ITR team. We're working through this together, and it's fairly simple there too.
You'll show your About Me page. So when I started, I was just going to go to some different pages and show you some are real simple. Like I would have done without the emoji that looks like Brandon. I would have probably not been that far along. I would have probably had my syllabus uploaded with all my assignments. But I was going to show you Brandon's About Me page.
Some teachers have actually set this module page as their home page.
Right.
So now you can just go straight here and everything you need is right here. That's simple. But my About Me page.
So I was going to say about social emotional learning. We always say when we start the year that we want the teachers to share a little bit about themselves. So there's Brandon's page about me and his family, and letting the students know all about him.
And I actually, our first assignment, our Big Tech teachers were doing an About Me video, day in the life. And they get to kind of see a day in our life through a vlog, a video. And just be a little more, just try to build those relationships in that way, virtually. And that will be tagged to this About Me page as well when we've done that.
Was there anything else y'all wanted to show?
How to create a page. So let me get out of student view. How to create a course.
So this is what it looks like when I received an email from Canvas. My page, my dashboard looked like this. So I just signed with my email. And it didn't have the 6 pictures that you see. It had no pictures.
It has nothing here. These are all courses that I'm a part of, and teachers working together building their course.
But right where Brandon's cursor is, or you can see start a new course, that's what you see. So click that, Brandon.
Start a new course. I'm calling it demo.
And that's it.
And right here, you begin creating your modules from here.
So, yeah, you click on that, then you can just upload a document, right?
I
You could upload a Word document.
can upload my resources. I can add to that module. So when I come to the module, all I hit is add. I can hit add a file, and or easier, an external URL. And most teachers now we're working through Google Drive. And in Google Drive, most of us have our syllabus and have everything ready. And let's see. I got that syllabus, and all I have to do is copy and paste
The URL.
the URL, put it here, name it syllabus, add item. Now the syllabus, when it's clicked on, it will come right up once published. There it is.
So we know some teachers have spent time this summer, like we told you before, we given them the $100 stipend because we knew they were working on their time off to watch videos and learn how to do this. And some teachers waited. But basically, for Monday, they need the syllabus and they need an assignment for day one. And, or they can, we encourage them to put up a week at a time so that students can work at their own pace. So that's all we need. But a lot of teachers have gone, like you said, this extra mile and made their own emojis, or whatever y'all call them. Business. And they made them look like themselves, and they made their rooms, it looked like their classrooms, they built books. And
It's become
maps.
like a whole community of teachers, not just from Virginia, but from everywhere. A Canvas community, because we're not the only ones in this situation. So it's really become a community of teachers helping teachers and becoming learners with this. I really enjoyed the process of diving in and seeing what it has to offer my students, because I really want, whether it's virtual or in face, I want the experience to be the best possible. And that's kind of what I think Canvas gives us, the best possible experience virtually for our students.
And you'll have a student, a child.
I'll have a 6-year-old, a first grader doing this. And as a parent, you know, I'm thinking as a parent, how can I do this? Well, if I have an instructional video from her teacher, or me and her mom weren't teachers, it would really be simple for us to just go through this platform.
I wanted to show you that. If you have any questions about any of the return to school, I didn't want to take too much time, so you could probably be here all night showing you different pages, because I have been overwhelmed by the details on some of them, but they are above and beyond. That's what I would expect from our people.
I would like to sign up for your class.
Sweet, I'm on that entire page.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for, yeah, Mr. Bradley has a question.
I'm sorry, Mr. Brown.
I was going to address it. Well, you mentioned cleaning, and I got a question from Mr. Scott about getting some concerns about, I guess, the disinfectant that we're using. I've got some concerns about, you know, whether or not it's safe. I mean,
let me get give me this. I'm gonna hand this to you and you pass it around. So this is the label that went on the bottles. And as you know, most all household cleaning items have a label on there to protect themselves about being careful with. Don't spray anything out, don't drink it, don't spray here, that kind of stuff. Just make general safety precautions. And I think with this being on a spray bottle that we had ordered and we put labels on it to give them those ones, we also have safety data sheets at every school and readily available as well. But I went back and looked, if you look at the Lysol wipes, Clorox wipes, the general cleaner that's out there has a lot of those general safety descriptions as well, such as Lysol wipes. You use one, it recommends you go wash your hands when you get done. So, you know, I think the cleaner that they have is a disinfectant tablet that mixes in with water. So when they run low, the custodians keep the tablets in hand. They drop a tablet in their bottle, fill it up with water, and they're good to go. So it's a safe disinfectant that can be used for cleaning, and it's EPA approved and has the EPA registration number listed on that label for them to go and do some research also.
well, I assume how we conveyed this information to our staff. I mean, I know we were supposed to have the question came up about cleaning and who's responsible for the cleaning. Have we had those conversations yet with staff?
Right, it's been talked about at a principals meeting as well, and we let the principals know when the bottles arrived, if they actually got delivered this past weekend, let them know that it's there, to be handed out, where the cleaning rags actually be located, how that swap out should take place, and also when they run low, how do they go to the custodians and get that replaced or refilled if you like to. So all that information has been passed on to the principals, either in an email or through the principals meeting, as Mr. Scott and Ms. Miller and Ms. Ray also talking about. And in every building as well, if you look at their detailed cleaning, what SSC is responsible for, every school has what they call a log book in there. And so whenever they finish, if they have problems or anything that the teacher runs by, got light bulbs out, or trash can didn't get emptied, or whatever, they can fill out this log book, and it gives something for the service solutions group to recap that. Well, in that log book, every one of them has a detailed checklist of what's going to be done as part of your thorough disinfectant, and it also has visual pages to show what touch points are. You know, whether it's vertical touch points, doorknobs, desks, and that kind of stuff, so that they kind of have a visual of what to be cleaned in there as well. And the principals know exactly where that's located as well.
Well, I mean, that's, safety is a big concern, so.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, just to me, it's just like a lot of other household cleaners. We just need to be careful and cautious whenever we're using any cleaners.
Any other questions? We move on to the consent agenda. 2 items under the consent agenda. There's the approval of minutes for July 9th and July 23rd, and the approval of payment for bills. Does anybody have any questions on either one of those? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Flanagan made the motion, Mr. Crowley second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, none, it's unanimous. We now move on to the action agenda, and that is the approval of purchase of Khajiits. Did I say it right?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. In an effort to provide support to students with connectivity needs, Erie County Public Schools has purchased Khajiits, a personal internet device for secondary students to check out. After assessing technology needs and addressing the technology gap among our families without stable internet access, the demand outweighs our current inventory of Khajiits, especially within the elementary schools. It is recommended that the school board approve the purchase of Khajiits, a personal internet device. The estimated cost is up to $250,000. We have several different accounts that we may be using. Some will be coming from FY21 technology budget, CARES Act ESSER funds, set aside GEAR funds, which is the vision grant, and or the County of Henry CARES Act ESSER funds. The County of Henry Board of Supervisors has approved to spend up to $60,000. They're going to put it in their CARES Act, and we're ready to put that PO in tomorrow, and that will buy us about 370 Khajiits that we can use in elementary and secondary. We'll put that in if this is approved, and then their money only goes through December, and if they get more money in December, they plan to finish the year out for us with the second half of the school year for those same amount. It will be less at the beginning. It's more because we have to pay for the equipment. So the second half will be around $30,000 for the second half of the year. And then we've also applied in a vision grant, and we're hoping to get some in our own CARES grant. Do you have any questions about Khajiits?
How many do we have at this time?
70. We have 20 in each high school, 10 in each middle school, and 10 at CCL.
Now, these will go home with the students.
Yes. And we know that we have a lot of students that don't have it, but we also have some large families, so one Khajiit will work for the whole family. And it does have firewalls, so that they can't go to inappropriate sites. We can control the firewalls on the Khajiit.
You've been using this for several years.
Yes, in the secondary schools we have, yes.
So these the same as the MiFi?
Yes, sir. It's a student MiFi.
Right, okay.
So they can't go to social media, and they can't go to any inappropriate sites. We're able to control that on the dashboard.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain the motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bradley made the motion. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed? Ms. Flanagan, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Ms. Flanagan made the second. The next is the approval of Amplio speech platform.
Clear speech, yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. In order to ensure service delivery, Amplio Speech is a platform through which our related service providers such as speech language pathologists can access resources as well as provide teletherapy to our students with disabilities. It's recommended that the school board approve Amplio Speech as a sole source provider for the 2020-21 and the 2021-22 school years. That the division is authorized to exercise subsequent renewals in accordance with the terms of the contract, not to exceed $65,000 per year for an approximate total for 2 years of $130,000 out of fiscal year 2021 budget and CARES Act funding.
Anyone have any questions? Approximately, what is the CARES Act? How much are you talking about there? That they might.
Well, we are looking at the other allotment that was provided, that was Miller discussed earlier. There's approximately $35,000 out of that. So the balance would be out of the CARES Act, the greater the federal funding. So we're looking at trying to kind of split it between the two. Again, and just to give you a little bit more information, it's going to provide access to online resources for speech language pathologists. They don't have to create the materials to provide the teletherapy, which is going to be extremely challenging during this time. It's going to give us on-demand therapy access, so it'll fill any gaps if we have any absences with speech language pathologists. And it is billed per student, so it may not be quite that much, maybe less than that, but it is billed by student.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Ms. Whipple, who made the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Flanagan, second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Okay, the next item is the approval of proposed FY 2022 budget development calendar and activities. Dr. Booth.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. The proposed budget calendar is being recommended to ensure the input of appropriate personnel in the community into the budget for the 2021-2022 school year, as well as meet timelines for the Code of Virginia. And as you can see, the budget calendar is up here. We will add the second semester dates once we set the school. It's kind of interesting. We'll be asking principals and directors for their input for next year's budget here in a couple of weeks. It's, it kind of moves fast. It is recommended that the budget calendar and associated activities be considered.
And we want to run that just like we did this past year with you all meeting, two meetings before and after the final decision. So that's the kind of board.
We also have two members of the board that was working with you all.
Yes, sir.
And we usually, when we run committees, keep those same members on those committees, and that's the board sheet. If that's up to the board member, she's not to be on there, so we would appreciate that.
It was Mr. Bradley and
Dr.
Samuel.
I will apologize for apparently appointing you forever, but I didn't know that.
Well, and I was going to suggest actually that it not be the same board members. I don't see a reason that the same board members represent us year after year after year. I mean,
Well, I know this, I know Mr. Bradley serves on the governor's school committee, Ms. Flanagan on the CTE committee. So, means we could discuss all the different committees and maybe have an interest.
If anyone is interested on being on that, please let me know. And we can take care of that. We will have time to do that next.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Booth?
Move we approve the budget calendar.
Okay. Second. All right. Mr. Zaire made the motion. Mr. Martin made the second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, item number 4 is the approval of updates to certain school board policies and regulations on second reading. Mrs. Langman.
Good evening. This month's proposed policy revisions do reflect efforts to bring policies and regulations into compliance with newer existing laws. There were quite a few this time, and the revisions were actually summarized and shared with the board in first reading at the July 23rd board meeting. And at this time, the revisions are presented as a second reading. It is recommended that the revisions be approved as presented. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that board members may have concerning the revisions.
One of the concerns that we discussed briefly at our last meeting was just that some of the policy updates that we make are required. I mean, they're mandates from the state, because the state in Richmond makes a law that we then have to incorporate into our policies or are out of compliance. And it raised the interesting dynamic that we as a local governing body are supposed to, make these policies, and yet they're coming from Richmond, and if we choose not to enact them, then we're not in compliance. And I don't expect that this board tonight can fix that issue, but I don't know if, Teddy, if this is something the VSBA can work with through the legislative process at Richmond. I just feel like the local governing board should be in charge of the things that we actually have control over. And for us to stand here and make a show of that we're gonna make these policy changes when we have no choice, but we could sit here tonight and vote against these policy changes and then be in violation of the state as a division. And that just doesn't make sense to me.
The one thing I will say is that the policies that were discussed that were part of code and changed this General Assembly session, the VSBA actually opposed those at the legislature, and probably don't want to advertise this too much, but the VSBA did not choose to give a legislative award this year because they did not feel that they were represented well at the local control level by the legislators. So that we very much share that sentiment, and we relay that, and, to the extent that we can do something about that, we absolutely want to. And Stacy and JT at Charleston, are very adamant about that. And, I talked to JT this other day, and we spoke about this very issue. So,
Yeah, and I think the thing that you just alluded to is a part of the issue is that there needs to be a distinction in my mind about what this board is actually putting in our policy and what Richmond is actually putting in our policy. And that's often hard to distinguish. It happened, obviously the legislative recommendations that the VSBA is looking at over with a fine-tooth comb, it's happening there, but it's not happening here. And so the public just assumes that this is what our board chose to put in our policy, and sometimes we have no choice. So anyway, I won't belabor it, but I just think that's an important issue that we need to.
I agree with Dr. Scott. I move we approve these on the second reading and fight the battle.
second.
Okay, Mr. Sarah made the motion, Mr. Martin second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 5 is the annual approval of the crisis plan. And Mrs. Strayer, Mr. Scott.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. In accordance with the Code of Virginia 22.1-279.8, local school boards are required to annually review the written school crisis, emergency management, and medical emergency response plans of each school in the division. The superintendent then shall certify in writing that the review has taken place no later than August 31st of each year to the Virginia Center for School Safety. The only revisions, again, to our crisis manual moving into this year has to do with personnel changes. And so it's recommended that the board declare the required crisis plan review complete.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Scott?
Yeah, I have one. I apologize for not reaching out. But anyway, pandemic section, when I read it, all right, we have 4 levels in the pandemic section. And of course, I guess goes back to the state, we're operating on 3 phases in what schools are supposed to do. Should that be a line, or is that an issue, or what? I mean,
Let the professional talk about it.
Well, I wanna go there. That pandemic plan, that is in place. However, we have an updated health plan that is taking place for our COVID-19 crisis right now. Once hopefully this is over and very quickly, then that pandemic plan will be for the next thing that comes along. That was
Had the pandemic plan in place from years and years ago.
That was written in 2005 when we had the H1N1, and it's been updated on an annual basis. But COVID, we received information from the CDC and the Virginia Department of Health, as well as the DOE. And so we have an updated COVID plan. But that pandemic plan, we used that until we got the other information. So hopefully this COVID stuff will be over, and then that pandemic plan will be just there and not needed.
To be prepared. But as you comment, Mr. Bradley, like the state is in 3 phases. But the state, and then like the state is saying there's 3 phases for the state, but then for the school system, there's also 3 phases. So the state could be in phase 2, the school system could be in phase 1, because that's what happened before. So currently, schools have been told they can be in stage. Actually, this week we were told we need to be in stage 1 or 2. We had a DOE conference call, and they referenced some of the different schools and talked about that we were in the red and should stay in stage 2. But they didn't give any parameters of why they were making that statement or suggestion. They just said because you were in the red. And they said you should probably look at virtual learning and letting some of the special ed students attend school. And that's exactly where we are right now. But that was our choice, but that was a recommendation they made. So even though the state has 3 phases for the state, they also have 3 phases for schools. And they're like waffling people in and out of them. But like I said, that's why we, as a chamber, we need to make that decision. And like I said, we need to take that input from all our different sources when we make a decision. And the board the board will get that information and make a decision as things change. So the pandemic section is for not just this situation. So we could,
so would
it
COVID
pleases the
be
board.
added to the plan?
Well, we have a health section.
Yeah, so that all of that is in there.
Because we can just change.
It's like 68 pages.
Right.
That is separate, yes, I see what you're saying. So when we could change, we could tweak the pandemic plan to match along with something.
And then something else, hopefully not, but something else may come up.
Because we were definitely trying to follow that, if you remember back in March, we weren't allowed to follow our own.
And we were following that until the governor abruptly just closed schools on the 15th.
So I just want to make this message. I don't know who reads them. Other than me.
Well, the crisis center obviously only the principal, the schools. The principals review that with all of their staff members. So what schools were doing, like Mr. Johnson said there, they said, this is how Canvas works, and let's talk about Canvas. And next thing is the crisis plan. And so that they're not public documents.
I'll quote Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
And this team constantly, at the beginning said, I can't thank the people in the room enough, because everybody in the room has worked very hard in their areas to make sure it's going to work. And Ms. Vessel and Mr. Scott on that crisis plan, as always, with other people in the room, the other Mr. Scott. They're always working to make sure that it's at its best.
Any other questions? Mr. Martin has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Flanagan, second. For the crisis plan, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Scott. We now move on to the superintendent's report.
Yes, so this video, I'm going to start playing. The video with our highlight edition of Superintendent's Highlights focuses on preparations for returning to school in the area of high-quality instruction. The curriculum and instruction team has been working in collaborative groups with small groups of teachers to plan for foundational lessons. Special education preparation has been underway for implementing new procedures. Canvas preparation and uploads have been taking place for teachers throughout the summer. Middle school teacher laptops have been set up and deployed, and iPads have been prepared for distribution to pre-K through 12 students. In the area of high-quality professionals, Mrs. Trader recently shared Henry County's plan for return to school. Both health and instructional plans were shared with state superintendents. In the area of safe and innovative learning environments, the finance team has been reviewing budget adjustments for the coming fiscal year. The facilities maintenance team renovated Room 1 at Career Academy to house the new cybersecurity program and renovated 2 classrooms at Laurel Park Middle School this summer to house the new GoTech labs. The finishing touches are being put on the furniture built by our very own Michael Martin. Bassett High School is getting a new roof this summer. The contractor is working hard to battle the unusually wet summer to begin with, and now the extreme heat. The facilities maintenance electricians have been busy working on lighting upgrades at Sample Elementary and Bassett High School. With these upgrades, we get great energy savings with a quick return on investment to pay itself back in less than 2 years. The facilities maintenance team is also working on plexiglass sneeze guards for schools and cubicles in the central office areas for preparation for a safe return to work. The maintenance team has also begun the process of installing social distancing signs at facilities and athletic fields. The team installed new exit numbers on all facilities this summer with a consistent numbering system and increased visibility for emergency responders. Partnering with Templeton Best, Cindy C. is shown assisting with annual fire alarm inspections. Finally, the maintenance team repaired a drainage issue along the walking track at Drury Mason Elementary. The new equipment is already paying for itself. In the area of family and community engagement, the division has been especially grateful to local business people for donations of masks and other items for use in our schools. Orion Capital, Bassett Office Supply, Eastman, and Cavalier Pharmacare have been especially generous during the month of August. As you can see, we are continuing to be inspired by all of the great things happening around the division.
Do you all have any other questions or excited about Monday? And again, looking forward to students coming back. I know Ms. Ruth, I think she mentioned it, and I think I briefly mentioned that we are trying to get our special ed students back in school on the 17th. So we are excited about that as well. Not all special ed students, special ed students that are on the alternative.
Before, so I want to get, because you reminded me of something in your presentation. I had a couple of teachers ask me, I guess when we were thinking in terms of returning to school, about plexiglass in the classroom. Do we provide that, or if they request, or I don't know. I told them to reach out.
What I've shared with, the principals have reached out to me for our classroom plexiglass. I've tried to share with them that we're making our first rounds for the common areas first, like main office, nurses stations, and that type of thing. And then once we get that complete, we'll make our rounds back through and see if there's some portable type plexiglass. We've also gotten some portable plexiglass that can be used for some one-on-one in this group's direction on it. And so just depends on what the need is, and we'll revisit those as we circle back around. So
in many of the classrooms, you've been able to place desks 6 feet apart, and there's not a need, but we also know in some classrooms it's a little bit different.
That's true. That was the visit that we did. Mr. Scott and I visited every principal and laid out the classroom physically so we could show them how the 6 feet is done. And plus we created a a visual for them, an email picture, so we can send that to them and they can share with their staff to lay those desks out and still maintain the social distancing.
Ms. Reed?
Earlier this week, we shared with various groups of teachers our tentative option to bring students back, because we know that it's an ever-changing environment, for face-to-face instruction for certain groups of students. Those students were students that participate in our online stages of learning, or that have a full-time hearing interpreter to help them with their communication. And then that was for the August 17th start date, and then looking at ECS, or early childhood special education, returning on August 31st. All students returning on whatever day would be half days, so till 11:30 at all levels, 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. As of today, our first round of individuals for transportation and attendance is due tomorrow. But as of today, earlier in the week, we sent out 16 teachers at 9 sites. As of today, we have 33 students whose parents have chosen that option at 6 different sites. And then just understanding that we know that special education relations or regulations, processing, and timelines, they haven't been relaxed at all for us. So we've been going full speed since this closure. We didn't receive any waivers. We did extend timelines. We are looking at going back to doing face-to-face testing. Mr. Scott has graciously made us some barriers so that we can move forward with that and make sure we're in compliance with our timelines. But what's fair is not always equal, and we're trying to do what's best for our students, given the circumstances and given the knowledge we have on any day. You guys have any questions?
Okay, does anybody else have a question they want answered? Okay, let's move on to matters from the board. So Mr. Zaire keeps telling me that the last shall be first and the first shall be the last. So we're going to start with Mr. Zaire since he's the last.
Appreciate all the hard work everybody's done. Hopefully this COVID-19 calms down over the next couple of weeks. So get the kids back on the hybrid schedule as soon as possible. Let's hope it calms down. Labor Day, we can get the kids back.
Ms. Whitlow.
I want to thank everyone, but you have gone above and beyond to think of a lot of safety issues and safety concerns, and have really went above and beyond on meeting the needs of the students and the teachers for safety.
Mr. Bradley.
Since the door has already been opened from our board of supervisors, I would like to suggest to Ms. Freya if she would get in contact, if he fails to do so, that member of Comcast, you know, again, the door was open, read, to see what they can do to help us with our virtual learning. And
We've already went ahead, so I'll let Zach say a little bit about that.
So I met with Dale Wagner this morning, and we worked on scheduling a time that we could meet with Nathaniel, I think was his name. But I did find out that Henry County has gotten approval to complete a broadband study in our community, so we'll have more specific information. Right now, we have something that Dale shared with me with overlay maps, but it looks like we have 80% of our population have access to the internet. The problem is that for people like Caitlin Connor works with me, she has access to the internet. However, it would cost her $10,000 to run from her house to the line. And so even though parents have the availability sometimes of the internet, they can't afford to connect to the internet. So they're still trying to figure out that situation. But our meeting with Comcast is to determine the gaps for the next expansion. Comcast is laying cable TV. They're not exactly laying internet, but Joe Wagner was saying that with the cable TV would come the internet. So the conversation will not be about broadband. When we meet with Comcast, it will only be about cable TV with the assumption that the internet comes with it.
We already worked on that, but I'd like Ms. Hatchett to share a story because y'all know that that has been our big push is equity and the fact that that is a problem for us that not everyone has the internet or has access to the internet. So Ms. Hatchett can tell you a story that happened just this week as well. I was contacted about midweek last week by a mom of 4, and her students are all elementary students. And she shared with me that she lives in sight of a church that has Wi-Fi access, but that she's been denied to have it run to her home, except that she could pay a $2,000 fee to have it run. So she had been in touch with someone at Comcast, and her words to me were, they said if someone in authority would let them know that she really needed it, that they would determine whether it was possible. So she called me asking if we would be someone in authority. So I took a chance and also reached out to Nathan from Comcast, and he called me back. And I have to be honest and say I was a little bit surprised that I got a call back so quickly, but he did return my call very quickly. And in that time span, just in a week or so, they have already been out to the home to determine how far she lives away from the church, that there are other homes within a certain range of her home, and they do plan to run that cabling to her home because there are other homes close by. So they are, on individual cases, also paying close attention, examining that, doing their own due diligence by going out in person and looking at them and communicating with parents. And so they're going to make a game-changing difference in the lives of several students because she spoke up for her own children. Now, the timeline is not fast. It will probably take about 3 months for them to complete the project, but she will not have to pay that $2,000. So that's wonderful. So to know that they are willing to do that for our families as well is very nice.
The current agreement with the county and Comcast is going to provide cable TV and eventually internet to about 10 homes on J.S. Holland Road in Horse Pasture and about 15 to 20 homes on Sandy River Road in Baxter. So we hope when we meet with them, we can get some more specific information about the expansion that would help the school system.
So I would suggest that if you're playing the Publishers Clearinghouse, maybe we could use that money to put towards getting internet. Ms. Flanagan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Ran across an article that my daughter, which is a teacher in Roanoke City, sent me, and I thought it was worthwhile reading. And I'd like to read it to you. This is from a teacher. Give us a minute. I spent today removing my personal belongings from my classroom. I'm not alone. This is being required in many districts right now. Chairs, pillows, lamps, bookcases, books, nothing but desks and chairs remain. I left my empty classroom and cried all the way home. Give us a minute. Before you say that parents need to be able to work, that parent needs a plan. The parents aren't teachers. Remember, most parents aren't teachers, but most teachers are parents. We want the best for your kids and our kids too. We are in this together. Give us a minute. Before you spew your negative personal experience with virtual learning from the spring, think, do you have any idea how hard we worked to make it the best it possibly could be? Do you have any idea how it feels to read your words? Give us a minute. Before you rattle off your ideas about what will work in the fall, understand, for every idea you have, we know a student and a family who needs something different. What works well in your house for your children is not necessarily the solution for all. Give us a minute. Teachers are not supposed to be working right now, but we are. Tirelessly, as always, there has never been a time before when we weren't ready to make it okay. We use nights and weekends away from our families to make sure your children feel supported. We go to sporting events and plays. We buy Girl Scout cookies and Boy Scout wreaths. We buy supplies, we buy food, we visit homes and hospitals. We prepare for gunmen. We do whatever it takes every single time. But right now, we're scared. We are scared to death. We are not sleeping. We are sick with worry. We want to do what's right for our kids and yours because we consider them ours too. Give us a minute, please. I just thought that was so interesting and heartfelt. And I know that our people are doing exactly what that says to try to get our kids together. And we all need to be in this together. And I appreciate each and every one of you.
Mr. Martin.
You know, I was going to start with whether you go first or last to first. Martin's always going to be in the middle. But I didn't know I'd end up being next to last. But anyway, I have to echo the comments that I appreciate everyone's hard work and all the fluctuations and changes that have occurred on the dime. And as alluded to earlier, with the prior governor order to stop right now, that no one had the ability to plan for. But again, I just want to thank everyone for their hard work, and I know that this hasn't been easy, and it won't be easy going forward. But as Ms. Lang just said, we're all in this together.
Thank you. I would agree. You all have done a tremendous job. There's always going to be some glitches, however, as we go along, because not everybody's going to agree with our decisions. And I think we've found out that in the last several months. We've gotten an earful here and there, but I feel comfortable about what we're doing, and it is preparing us for greater things down the road. Thank you. A couple of announcements, dates. They are the individual graduations will be at 9 o'clock at Bassett and at Magna Vista. So if you can go to one of those or both of them, I'm sure they would appreciate that. Don't forget, the first day of school is August the 10th. And then our next monthly meeting is September the 3rd at 9. Some of the VSBA, you'll see the Legislative Advocacy Conference, that's a virtual meeting. And then don't forget about the annual meeting, that's virtual also. And if you plan on attending virtually, you need to get your registration into Ms. Riddle as soon as possible. So that can be set up.
Ms. Robert, and graduation, child, they're only one person at a time. They're bringing the family in the auditorium, the child will come across the stage, so it will be quick, one person's on it. They have seats. Be there. Long ceremony. And it's not academic. They signed up for it.
All right, we'd like to move into closed session, discussing items 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia for discussion and consideration of appointments, transfers, reassignments, and separation of employees of Henry Public Schools, and also the evaluation of the superintendent. Also, 2.2-3711A2 of the Code of Virginia for discussion and consideration of recommendations for special placement, non-resident requests, and release from compulsory attendance for religious readings. And also 2.2 -3711A7 of the Code of Virginia for discussion of pending legal matters. So I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Ms. Flanagan made the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Martin, second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, we will now have a 2-minute recess. And then we'll go on into closed session.
It's 2 months.
Well, Mike said 8/7, Mike, maybe.